Hi, I'm Andy Bowes, Director of Data and Eligibility at School Food Solutions. This is training for the state of California, schools participating in community eligibility provision. So let's start off. What is CEP? What does it mean? So CEP stands for Community Eligibility Provision. It's a provision or a version of the federal National School Lunch Program that's available for schools that have at least 25% of their students directly certified for free automatic lunch benefits. For future reference, the percentage of directly certified students is what's known as your ISP, your identified student percentage. So California requires all schools with an ISP of 40% or more to participate in CEP. This helps the state maximize federal claim funding. The original goal of CEP was to increase student participation and reduce administrative burdens by simplifying the traditional kind of procedures for meal eligibility and meal counting. So meal reimbursements get done with kind of a consistent percentage based on your ISP. And under CEP, you're not allowed to process traditional free and reduced meal applications. But in California, due to requirements for local control funding formula dollars and Sunbucks or summer EBT, you can collect forms like the alternative income form or the universal benefit application to get individual student eligibility data that you need for things other than the meal program. So technically speaking, as a CEP school, you don't need these forms for anything to do with food service. It's just for other funding eligibility. So why do they have different forms? So the alternative income form, shortened here to AIF, you'll see that throughout the presentation. This is a simple form that just asks for the total number of people in the house and the total income for the whole house. This is what you may have collected in past school years to qualify for LCFF funding and other things. Your school has decided to continue collecting this simple form to maximize completion rates and to make sure that you get all the school funding that you are entitled to. The second form, the Universal Benefit Application, we're going to call that the UBA going forward. This needs to be made available only to targeted families who are not directly certified, so that family can qualify to receive Sunbucks. Sunbucks is a permanent program that gives money to cover meals during the summer. So it's $120 for this year on an EBT card for each qualifying student. And so that's meant to kind of cover those summer months where they're not getting school meals. The alternative income form doesn't meet the requirements of the Sunbucks program to qualify a student for Sunbucks. So that's why there's an additional form if families want to qualify for Sunbucks, if they're not already qualified through another means like direct certification. But the alternative income form is still good for qualifying your school for LCFF funding and some other state funding. So eligibility via an alternative income form or application, if they fill out either one, they would need to report a household income below 185% of the federal poverty line for the current year to be eligible. Those charts are here on the right. What we need here is a number of people in the household and a total annual income to be able to calculate if they fall below these thresholds. On the universal benefit application, they could also list a case number for anyone that lives in the household that might participate in a qualifying assistance program, that being CalFresh or CalWorks in most cases. They could also report situations like homelessness, There are also some automatic sources of eligibility. So students can be directly certified. So your student records get matched with state agency records through CalPads, and students who participate in CalFresh, also known as SNAP or Supplemental Nutrition Assistance, CalWorks, which is also known as TANF for Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or Medi-Cal, Medicaid, if they qualify based on income for those programs and their record is matched in CalPads, they are automatically eligible for free or reduced. They're automatically eligible for Sunbucks benefits. They do not need to complete an additional form to get those benefits or to qualify as free or reduced. Direct certification matching has to be done monthly by your CalPads administrator and shared with School Food Solutions so that we can keep track in our systems. Another way that someone can be automatically eligible is through a sibling extension. So if one child in the household is directly certified, all children in that household can be extended that same eligibility. Usually this is done automatically by your point of sale or point of service system based on matching family addresses, but you can also let us know if there are siblings that didn't get caught automatically. And then again, if your family, if you have students who are experiencing homelessness or runaway status, are migrants, are in foster care, those exports out of CalPads can also qualify them automatically for Sunbucks and for free and reduced eligibility. So how will you be notified of which students are eligible for what? School Food Solution is going to send you a status list on a regular basis that's going to list all of your kids and show you who's directly certified and who has had a form processed for them. Please review these for sibling extensions that may have been missed by the program or any other issues. And these lists need to get shared with your student information system and CalPads administrators to make sure that they update their 181 free meal program or 182 reduced price meal program records for those students. For families to know if they're eligible for Sunbucks benefits, School Food Solutions is going to give you letter templates to send home to families in the following situations. So if they're eligible via direct certification, we'll have one template and list for those. If they're eligible via a universal benefit application, we'll have a template and a letter to send to those families. And if they completed a universal benefit application but were found to be not eligible, their income was too high, for example, those will also have a letter and a list of those families. That letter will include like a process for them to appeal that decision. So if you hear back from any of those families thinking that they should have qualified, let us know. It could just be a processing issue. It could be something that we can quickly resolve without needing to go through any kind of formal appeals process. All right, so let's talk about the procedures for processing the forms at your school. We'll start by what School Food Solutions is going to support you with. We're going to provide this training. So make sure that anybody who's kind of managing alternative income forms or universal benefit applications takes this training. We will create and share a compliant AIF and UBA packet for the school year. We're going to make sure that your point of sale system is configured and rostered and ready to go for the year. We're going to process any forms that you send to us in that point of sale system, and we'll communicate back with you about any that we can't process because they're incomplete or have an issue. We're going to upload direct certification lists into that point of sale system. Again, that point of sale system is going to be the data tracking place for everybody's status. Out of there, we're going to pull status lists for you on a regular basis. So during the rush of the back to school season, when a lot of these are being processed, we usually send those every 1 or 2 weeks. As things slow down throughout the year, we'll send them to you basically monthly. And that will help you keep track of which students have already been directly certified or who have submitted a form so far. We're also going to send you Sunbucks files to upload to the state for students who are eligible. And we're going to provide those family notification letter templates and lists, and we'll answer any questions that you have. We're here to help. We're here to be a resource to you and your school and your families. So what does your school need to do? As I mentioned before, sending those direct certification extracts from CalPads on a monthly basis is super important. The bulk of your students are going to get qualified as free or reduced through direct certification, and that will help minimize the number of forms that you otherwise need to collect. You want to make those alternative income forms available to your families. Those are the simpler forms. You want to distribute those first. Try and get as many of those back as you can. So, and then later, we will let you know when you should make your universal benefit application available to targeted families. So once we've gotten some direct certifications and most of your alternative income forms in, we'll get you a list of like, okay, these are the students who may want to fill out a universal benefit application to qualify for Sunbucks. So you don't need to send out both forms to everybody. Do the alternative income form first, try and get everybody to fill that one out, and then the universal benefit application will only be for targeted folks who might want to get that benefit and aren't already qualified for it some other way. We ask that your school determines who's going to be responsible for collecting these forms. That could be one person, a team of people. Make sure that everyone involved has completed this training, and then have that team develop a system for reviewing, scanning, and storing the forms. So every time a form, either an alternative income form or a universal benefit application, is submitted, it needs to get checked to make sure it has everything it needs. And then it needs to get scanned in daily batches to School Food Solutions so that we can process them. And then you need to store those original paper forms somewhere securely. So let's get into all of that. So firstly, CalPads direct certification list. So your CalPads administrator can pull these on a monthly basis. They're usually available within the first or second week of the month. The July DC is the first one for the 25-26 school year. Send that one as soon as possible. Those can get emailed to forms@schoolfoodsolutions.org. We will provide a Dropbox link that will let you upload them securely. We can also accept, in addition to the regular direct certification extract, the 5.5 homeless list or the 5.7 foster list if those apply to students in your school. For scanning applications to us, make sure that all the reviewed forms received in a day are scanned in a batch as soon as possible. So usually at the end of the day or first thing the next day, scan them to us. Don't scan as individual files. No need to like save each one for each kid. Just put them in a pile and put them through your school copier scanner is usually the best way to do it. That way we get a batch PDF with all the files for that day. Name the email subject and the file attachment with your school name and the date that you're sending it. If you need to do more than one batch in a day, you received a lot that day, feel free to add a batch number to that name. All the applications need to be scanned and emailed to forms@schoolfoodsolutions.org. That's FORMS, forms. All original forms applications need to be kept for 3 or more years, 3 years plus the current year, for audit purposes. So we recommend, having a storage solution, whether this is just a file in a locked cabinet or one of these like alphabetical expanding files that you could put away somewhere, is great. Some schools like to use binders, that's fine, but we just ask that you don't hole punch the original application, so maybe use page protectors to keep those in there. And don't put the original applications in, separate student folders. If you need to put them in the student folders too, make a copy for that and keep all the originals together in one place. This is more information about the status list that we're going to send you. So this is a picture of the beginning of a status list as an example. It's going to be an Excel file that lists all your active students. And then there's a column labeled eligibility that's going to say either free, reduced, or paid. Even though nobody's paying for meals, paid just means not eligible for free or reduced. Students who are highlighted yellow on a status list means they don't have anything processed for this year. They're not directly certified. We don't have a processed application for them. Students who are not highlighted means that they have something on file for the year. So please make sure to review this list closely. Let us know if there are any issues. You can just email forms@schoolfoodsolutions.org if there are. One thing to definitely look out for are siblings with mismatched statuses. So if you notice there's one member of a family who's qualified as free and the other member of the family is still qualified as paid or is highlighted in yellow, let us know and we can extend that benefit to all members of that household. And be sure to share these with your CalPADS administrators or your student information system administrator so that they can update the student's free meal program and reduced price meal program records accordingly.
We're also going to help you with Sunbucks data uploads. So Sunbucks, also known as Summer EBT, is a program created by federal law and administered by the California Department of Social Services in partnership with the California Department of Education, and it helps families with school-age children buy groceries during the summer months when children might not have access to school meals. So Sunbucks are put on an EBT card that gets mailed directly home to families by the state, and each eligible child receives one card worth $120 per summer. Universal benefit applications received through August 31st, 2026, and qualify for free or reduced benefits, qualify a student to get a Sunbucks EBT card for summer 2026, as well as for summer 2027. So most of your students qualified last school year and are already getting or have gotten their summer 2026 benefit. But if you have new students starting at the school and they submit a universal benefit application before August 31st, then they can also get a summer EBT card for the summer that has already happened. But all applications received from July 1st through the end of the school year will qualify the student for summer 2027 benefits. CalPADS administrators are going to need to submit a list of students who have been approved based on the UBA to the state's Education Data Collection System, also known as EDCS. School Food Solutions will provide this upload file to your school in September after we've processed all the applications through August 31st. We'll also provide another upload file at the end of the school year for summer 2027 benefits. So you should get at least 2 Sunbucks uploads throughout the year. Here are some important dates. We will send you your form packets once this training is complete and once your roster is updated in your point of sale system for the new year. Some other dates to be aware of is that usually by the second week of July, around the 10th, direct certification lists for the new school year are available in CalPADS. So please ask your CalPADS administrator to download those lists and send them to us. As I just mentioned, August 31st is the deadline for families to submit universal benefit applications to qualify for summer 2026 benefits. Again, most of your students have already qualified for summer 2026 based on last year. This would just be for like any new students. And then families have all school year to qualify for next summer 2027 benefits. And then October 31st is the deadline for families to submit either an alternative income form or a universal benefit application that qualify for LCFF funding on your October Census 1.18 report. So these deadlines are good for you to be aware of, but families are able to submit a form at any time throughout the school year. There's no hard deadline for when they can submit it. These deadlines will just determine what what benefits your school or the family will get based on when they turned it in.
Let's take a look at the different forms in more detail. We're going to start with the alternative income form. Again, this is the simpler form. It qualifies a student as free or reduced for school funding only. So local control funding formula is the main reason that these are collected. You want to try and collect these from as many families as possible as early as possible. Again, anybody who's directly certified, technically that direct certification is going to trump the alternative income form, but this is the one that you want to make available and ask families to fill out early on. So this is the alternative income form template. Part 1 is where they can list all children who attend your school or school network. So each family should only have to fill out one of these forms. They don't have to fill one out for each child. They can list all the children on one form. And again, we only need the names of the ones who actually attend your school. We don't need any other children who might live in the household listed here. What's absolutely required is a first name and a last name, but there is space for them to write the name of the school, their birth date, and their grade level. Those bits are helpful to help us match the student in your system. Part 2 is where they're going to tell us how many total people live in their household. So adults and children all together, how many people live there. They're going to circle the number 1 through 10, or if it's more than that, they can write it on the other line. And then the second part of this is telling us the total annual household income. So this should be total income earned by all members of the household before any deductions or taxes are taken out. And it should be an annual number. So we're looking for one number of how much everybody in the house makes for the year. Part 3 is where they're going to sign and date. So what's required here is the signature and a current date, the address, phone number, all of that is extra. If they put it, that's great. If not, it's okay. Some common errors on the alternative income form to be aware of is, again, not listing all the students on one form. They don't need to do multiple forms. Just make sure that they list all the students who go to your school or network of schools. Another common problem is an unclear or questionable household count. So either not circling one of the numbers, circling more than one number, circling a number that seems too small. If they only circle one or fewer people than are listed on the form, then that's going to be a problem. Another problem is just an unclear or a questionable income amount. So if they list an income amount that doesn't seem to be annualized, we might ask you to confirm that. So if they list, $500, we're assuming that that might be what they make on a weekly or monthly basis, not necessarily an annual amount. We might ask you to check on those. Another thing is sometimes folks write NA or leave it blank. In those situations, we need to clarify with the family, does that mean they don't have a source of income, or that they're declining to tell us their income? Because if they don't have a source of income, that would qualify them for free meals, whereas if they're declining to state their income, then they wouldn't qualify for anything. So if that's unclear, we might ask you to reach out to the family to clarify. Other common issues are just forgetting to sign it or date it. Also make sure that they're using a current date, not a date of birth or some other date. It needs to be, a date after July 1st, usually. We're going to send you this reference quick check guide. We suggest you print this out and have it wherever you're collecting the forms. It's going to remind you of those errors and what to do about them. making corrections on your forms. If there's a problem, you usually can just reach out to the family and get the correct information. No need for them to fill out a whole new form most of the time, or to come in for anything. The only exception to that would be if they didn't sign it, then someone would need to come in and sign it. But for corrections, all you would do is draw a line through anything that's inaccurate or a duplicate. So say they circled 2 different numbers for household income, you would just scratch a line through the one that's incorrect, circle the one that is correct, and then you can initial and date next to any corrected or added information. So you put your initials and the date that you got the correct information from the family. And again, the signature does have to come from the household adult who provided the information, so you can't sign on their behalf. Have them, they might have to come in to sign. Let's talk now about the universal benefit application. So this is a more detailed form that resembles a more traditional meal application, and it is available for families who are not directly certified but want to qualify to get those Sunbucks summer benefits. We're asking that you share these forms only with targeted families when we send you that list. So there will be a push in August to get universal benefit applications, and then we'll do another one later in the school year, like April or May. Here's a look at the UBA template. It has 5 steps, and families need to complete step 1, either step 2 or steps 3 and 4, depending on their situation, and then step 5. Again, you do not need to be writing on these applications in most cases, only if there's a correction to be made.
So the first part of the application is naming all of the children.
All right, step 2 or part 2 of the application is assistance program. So this is required if it's applicable. So if anybody in the household participates in CalFresh or CalWorks, or less likely FDPIR, that's for folks living on Indian reservations, they can check those boxes and then enter the case number of the person participating in that program. So a case number is usually 8 or 9 digits long. It's a mix of letters and numbers sometimes. The one thing that it can't be is a 16-digit debit card number. That's kind of the most common mistake, is folks will put, if they get, CalFresh benefits, they'll put the EBT card 16-digit number. That is not a case number. We can't accept that. They'll need to look on a letter or something else that they've received from the program to find that case number. Now, if step 2 is complete and they have a good case number, you can ignore steps 3 and 4. If they filled it out, doesn't matter, because just this step 2 will qualify them as free.
So step 3 in the application is
the last required part of the form that everybody has to do is step 4, the contact and signature for the adult completing the form. What's required is the printed name, the signature, and the date. The phone number, address, email address, that's all optional, nice to have, but they do need to have a signed form. It needs to be someone who was listed in step 3. It can't be the student. It can't be some third party not member of the household. And it needs to be a current date. So make sure they're not writing in like a date of birth or some date that doesn't feel like it's when they completed the form. There's an optional section for children's ethnic and racial identities. Also totally optional, so it's okay if it's left blank. And what should you guys be writing on the application at the school? Usually nothing. There is a school use only box. You don't need to fill that out. We fill that out for you on the scanned copies that you send us. You do not need to mark up the original copies with any kind of received date, scanned date, any other kind of processing notations. If you need to keep track of that stuff, use Post-it notes or some other method. We want to try and keep the originals as clean as possible. The only exception to this rule is if there's a correction that has to be made in the information from the family. So if they didn't put an income frequency, or the household count doesn't match, or there's some other issue, you can contact the family on the phone and try and get that information. You're just going to draw a single line through anything that's like duplicate or inaccurate. Please don't use whiteout or correction tape. Just a line is fine. Write in as close to where it belongs on the form as possible any additional information that the family shared with you. And then next to that, just initial with your initials and the date that you got that information from the family. The only exception to like this would be if they forget to sign it, then the family would have to come in and sign it. But any other corrections, you can usually just contact them, get the info, and then write it on the form. As a reference, we're going to send you a quick check for the universal benefit application since there's more to check for. Again, have this accessible anywhere that you're going to be reviewing these applications. It'll remind you of what to check for. All right, so that's it. We want to make sure that you know how to get support from us whenever you need it. Any questions about any of this stuff that has to do with forms, applications, eligibility, direct certification, student rosters, email us at forms, FORMS, @schoolfoodsolutions.org. Again, that's the same email where you're going to be sending your scanned applications and sending your direct certifications. So that's also your help desk. That's where our whole team has access to help answer your questions. If a family contacts you with a question that you don't know how to answer about how to fill out a form, you can direct them to us. So you can either email their question to forms and we'll answer it and you let them know, or you can share these toll-free numbers with those families. Encourage them to leave a voicemail. If we don't answer, we will call them back. If for some reason you need additional support, you can reach out to me, Andy Bowes, directly, or to your client manager, Ryan Gomes, and our emails are listed there. So let's talk next steps. Your first next step is to go to the link in the email where you got this training and take the post-training quiz. It's super short. You're going to ace it. This will let us know that you have completed this training and you're ready to receive your form packets. Please do that as soon as you can. You can begin distributing the alternative income forms whenever you're ready. Scan them to us to review. We can start processing them from July 1st on, but even if you get them before that, send them in. Please send us the July direct certification extract out of CalPads as soon as it's available, which is usually by July 10th. The universal benefit application packet we're going to share with you, but please don't send that to all your families right away. Only a targeted group of kids are going to need to fill out that form, and we'll let you know who they are after we've gotten your direct certification files and after we've processed some of your alternative income forms. Because families who are already directly certified or who fill out an alternative income form that doesn't qualify, they don't need to get the UBA form. They're not going to qualify. So, or they already are qualified, so it would just be unnecessary work for the family. If you have any questions, again, reach out to us. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this training. Go complete that quiz and have a great school year. Thank you so much.